In this screencast, I'm going to talk to you about the final portfolio rubric for English 102. So, as usual, our rubric has 4 different rows and criteria: reflective thinking, attention to the rhetorical situation, sources and evidence, and conventions and craft. And in order to get the grade that you want, you need to pay attention to each of these different categories. The levels of achievement are level 4, excellent or nearly so, 3, solid, 2, competent, or 1, barely passing, which would roughly come out to A, B, C, and D. So let's start with the reflective thinking elements. This is often the most overlooked portion of the portfolio, and I think it's because it requires some extra work at the end of the semester, and you're already tired, and it's hard to kind of motivate yourself, but it's super important that you focus on your reflective thinking elements. And you essentially need 2 things, 2 categories of things. There will be multiple instances of the second one. The first one is a reflective text, which is like an essay or a letter or, a short narrative in a video, some sort of text that is an overarching document that frames the entire portfolio and reflects on what you learned this semester and how your portfolio as a whole demonstrates that learning. So that's going to be at the beginning of your portfolio. But then you also need revision plans. And I'm thinking of this as like revision plan plus. So revision plans throughout the semester have been a way for you to track feedback and changes in due dates. But for these revision plans, you're also adding a column for the learning objective that you met, as well as a column for how the document that you included demonstrates your learning of that objective. And in order to get a 4, 3, or 2, you need to have both that reflective text and a revision plan that is placed before every single major text in the document. You need to have these documents be insightful and thoughtful, and you need to clearly connect to the course goals. So that's why for the revision plans, there will be a category for course goals, so you can't miss it. But even in the reflective text, make sure you mention specific course goals from the syllabus and how you met those. Notice too that for both levels 4 and 3, there are explicit connections to the learning goals. So to get an A or B in this category, you have to almost quote the learning goals from the syllabus, whereas C and D level writing doesn't have explicit reference to learning goals. With C level or competent, it's not explicit, but it's still alluded to, like it's still clear in so many words that you met the learning objectives. With barely passing, the reflective text and revision plans might be really underdeveloped and make just kind of really big claims about your learning without specific support from your work. And then also keep in mind that you can't even pass this category if you don't include the reflective text and revision plans. That's how important they are. Okay, so now moving on to attention to the rhetorical situation. So for the highest level, you need to be consistent in making good decisions about what you include. Anytime you include supplemental documents, which you should include at least one supplemental document in order to get an A or B, but any of those texts really do connect to your rhetorical knowledge and the learning goals, and you specifically outline, again with a revision plan, how it connects and how you revised it. And then within the text themselves, the writing has a clear purpose and adapts to the audience. And also, this is really important, often A-level attention to the rhetorical situation, the writer uses key terms from the course, and that's because you're paying both attention to the rhetorical situation of each specific document, but then also of the overall portfolio, which is that the purpose and the audience for the portfolio, it's for your instructor to assess you. So the more you can do to clearly articulate to the audience, to your instructor, that you understand the course concepts, the better you demonstrate your understanding of the rhetorical situation. Same thing for level 3, but you generally make apt decisions. It might not be as consistent. With level 2, only the minimum contents are included, which are the major projects and the reflection. So you might be missing those revision plans. So you could, for example, be docked, if you don't have the revision plans, you could be docked that both from reflective thinking and from attention to the rhetorical situation. Also, C level doesn't include any supplemental text. So you do need to, if you want an A or B, choose some extra documents that you can revise and include in the portfolio. Also, C level needs major revision, like there's just needs major revision to attend to the audience and purpose of those texts. D level, they're the minimum contents, but the texts really require severe, significant revision. They might be really kind of off or show very limited understanding of the learning objectives. Then I'll be looking at your sources and evidence. So for everybody, I hope that you'll choose high quality, credible sources. We did a lot of work for that throughout the semester. So not only should they be high quality and credible, but you need to show that you can use them. So I'll be looking at, your introduction to your paper, your research proposal, your opinion piece to see, are you using them to give context for a topic, to explain an issue as evidence or as a method for research? So you should use them in multiple different ways. And I shouldn't have any questions about sources or documentation. Plus, you should have a primary research project where you collected data that shows some fluency to do that. With the next level down, generally your sources are credible and you still use them in a variety of ways. I still don't have any questions about sources or documentation, and you're possessing some fluency with primary research. The next level, the C level, generally still credible sources, but there might be some questionable sources, or there might be too many popular sources, not enough peer-reviewed. You might be using them in limited ways, like just as evidence to support a claim, but not in other ways. And there's very little fluency with primary research. And I might even have some questions about where sources came from. And then even with D level, still the sources are generally credible and relevant, but the credibility of some might be problematic. There's some ability still to integrate sources, cite sources, but the primary research project is really lacking, or maybe not even there. And I might have some questions about sources and documentation. Our last category is conventions and craft. So this is where I'm looking for your ability to use the genre conventions, or if you deviate from genre conventions, do it in a way that enhances the writing. Absolutely, sources need to be cited and all the research needs to be documented, and there should be little or no errors in grammar and punctuation, and definitely none that impede meaning. For B level, still adapting to genre conventions. Although there might be a few lapses, still research is well documented. They're in-text citations and end citations, and they're fairly conventional. And there might be a few errors, but still none of the errors impede my meaning or my understanding of your writing. At C level, you're still adapting to genre conventions, and you're still integrating and documenting research using citations and a reference list, but there might be more errors, and some of them might actually impede meaning. And then for D level, inconsistent adaptation to genre conventions, but some ability to do so. But still, you're using in-text citations and citing, because remember, if you don't cite properly, that's plagiarism, which would actually earn you an F level in this category. And there are some errors, and they might again impede meaning, but overall, the writing is coherent and readable. So that's our final portfolio rubric, and I hope that this helps you to understand what I'm looking for.